So, good day everyone. So, today I will be presenting the topic that was assigned to me. But before I will start, I will introduce myself first. So, my name is Eileen Ann Bugahod, a second year student taking up Bachelor of Technology Education, major in Computer Technology. So, the topic that I am going to share or to discuss is all about Sternberg's successful intelligence theory and WICS model. But before I will proceed with the discussion, let me introduce to you first the proponent of this theory. So when we say proponent, it is a person who advocate advocates a theory. So Robert Jeffrey Sternberg, he is an American psychologist and psychometrician. He was born in New Jersey on December 9, 1949, and after suffering from test anxiety and doing poorly on an exam, he realized that the test was not an accurate measure of his actual knowledge and abilities. So Sternberg served as the president of the American Psychological Association in year 2003. And in 2013, he voluntarily resigned as president of the University of Wyoming after having held the office for only 4 months. So, Robert Jeffrey Sternberg is a cognitive psychologist who is currently the provost and professor of psychology at Oklahoma State University. So, Robert Sternberg, he did extensive work in the field of intelligence test, and that led him come up with the triarchic theory of intelligence in the year 1980s. And then, from his complicated triarchic theory, it later on evolved into a simpler one. It is the successful intelligence theory. So which means that it later evolved to from his triarchic theory, it evolved into simpler one. As I've mentioned earlier, it is the successful intelligence theory. So from triarchic theory to successful intelligence theory. And then the theory of successful intelligence points that some students who do not do well in conventional courses may in fact have the ability to succeed if they are taught in a way that better fits their patterns of abilities. So, which means that according to successful intelligence theory, some students who do not do well in conventional courses. So when we say conventional courses, it is normal courses. So again, according to the successful intelligence theory, some students who do not do well in conventional or normal courses, they have the ability to succeed if they are taught in a method that better suits their abilities, no, or talents. So in Sternberg's successful intelligence theory, this includes 4 skills. So first, we have here the memory skills. It helps us recall facts and pieces of information. It helps us retain the knowledge we acquire that is needed to begin thinking creatively. One cannot apply knowledge which he cannot remember. So, which means that in memory skills, we can recollect facts and pieces of information. And it is also mentioned here that it helps us retain the knowledge we acquire that is needed to begin thinking creatively. Which means that in memory skills, it aids in the retention of the knowledge we gain in order to begin thinking creatively. And knowledge that is not remembered cannot be applied. So the second one is the analytical skills. It helps the person determine if a certain idea is good. Analysis, so kato, it helps the person determine if a certain idea is good. So in analytical skills, it assists the person in determining whether or not particular particular idea is viable. So, analysis is important before one can think a new and better ideas, which means that before coming up with fresh and improved ideas, it is necessary to conduct a research. So, mura lagod na siya og kanang maestra ba. So, dili ka mahimong maestra kung dili ka magaging estudyante. So, pareha sa analytical skills, no, kanang it is important to kanang conduct a research kay kanang before ta maka-get or before ta maka-gain og kanang mga fresh and improved ideas or mga useful nga ideas, dapat natay kanang steps or na siya process which is to conduct a research. Dapat kanang imo na siyang studyhan. And then the third one is creative skills. It allows a person to come up with a new idea, usually to answer a need of solve a problem. It makes one flexible and able to adjust to changes in one's situation. Creativity gives birth to new and better solutions to problems. Without creativity, we will get trapped in things and ways that don't work anymore. So in creative skills, it allows someone to come up with fresh concept, frequently in response to an issue that has to be solved. And it allows you to be adaptable and flexible in your situation. And new and better solutions to issues are born as a result to creativity. And we will become, so it is mentioned here that without creativity, we will get trapped in things and ways that don't work anymore, which means that we will become imprisoned in the things and techniques that no longer work if we lack or wala tay kanang inventiveness or creativity. So that's why it is very creativity is very important, no? And then the fourth one is the practical skills. It enables a person to apply what one has learned. It also allows one to carry through or implement a plan. And practical intelligence, on the other hand, makes us apply what we have learned. It gets us to actually do what needs to be done. So in practical skills, it enables a person to put what they have learned. So now to put what they have learned into action. So kanang kung unsa imong nakatunan, imo na siyang i-action. So dili ra ka kutob sa storya, dapat imo gid siyang buhaton. And it also enables one to carry out a plan. And on the other hand, practical intelligence kanang nagmotivate siya sa atwa. It motivates us to put what we've learned into practice. So moto kong gi-mention ganiha, kung unsa to nakatunan, ato siyang i-practice, ato siyang i-put into action. And it motivates us to complete the task at hand. Kay imo man siyang gikuan, kay mura na na siya og plano kung way buhat, so drawing ra gid siya. So kung ang plano ubanan og buhat, so makompleto gid nimo ang task, mahuman nimo. So yan ana na siya ang practical skills. So the WICS so now in collaboration with other prominent psychologists or in collaboration with other kanang well-known nga mga psychologists, Sternberg proposed the WICS model, which stands for wisdom, intelligence, creativity, and synthesis. So it is vital that we remember what we learn. So it is memory. So importante gid siya kung vital. So importante nga atong hinumduman kung unsa ang atong kanang nakatunan. So it is referring to memory, and use critical thinking to evaluate the things we learn. And then be innovative in finding better ways of doing things and solving problems. And that is creative, and apply and put to action what we learn, practice or practical. So kung unsa ang ato ang mga naakatunan, unsa atong na-learn, ato siyang i-apply or ato siyang i-put into action, ato siyang buhaton. Sa akong giingon ganiya, ato siyang kanang kuan ba, ipakita or buhaton para dili siya mahimong drawing. Kung unsay plano nato, mahuman siya. So in WICS model, intelligence is a set of fluid abilities to learn from experience and adapt to one's surroundings, which means that in WICS model, intelligence is viewed as a set of fluid abilities or talents to adapt to one's circumstances and learn from experiences. So as you can see in the presentation, no nga, na abilities, competencies, expertise. So sa abilities, so ang makita nato nga pictures under sa abilities is bata siya nga nagkanta. So for example, kanang bata nagkanta-kanta siya, so naimingon nga ay kaning bata ani singer ni siya, ida ko kay mahilig siya kanta-kanta. So bata pa lang kadaan na kay nakita na kaog ability sa usa ka butang. And then competencies, kanang imo na siyang gi-practice, no? Na kay kakayahan nga imo nang buhaton butanga, imo na siyang i-perform, imo siyang i-practice. And then expertise, expert na kaana nga butang kay sukad pagkabata nagkanta na ka, imo nang gi-practice. So ma-expert gid na nimo, murag maanad ka ana ba, so mo nga expertise. So now the basic idea is that citizens of the world need creativity to form a vision of where they want to go and to cope with changes in the environment. So vision, it is a vision of where they want to go and how to deal with environmental changes. And analytical intelligence to certain whether their creative ideas are good one. So in analytical intelligence, it is to determine whether their creative ideas or concept are good. Kung ang ilaang ilang creative nga ideas or concept is maayo ba. And then practical intelligence to implement their ideas and to persuade others of the value of their ideas. So in practical intelligence, it is to put their ideas into actions. Akong gingon ganiha, buhaton. And persuading others of the value of their ideas. And then wisdom, in order to ensure that the ideas will help achieve some ethically based common good over the long and short terms, rather than just what is good for them and their families and friends. So in wisdom, so in order to assure that the ideas will contribute contribute to some ethically based common good in the both kanang long and short terms, rather than merely what is beneficial for them, for their families and friends. Okay, so your role as a teacher is not to educate the mind alone, but to educate the soul as well. So ang role as sa teacher no is dili lang pag-educate sa atuang mga hunahuna, atong mga utok, but to also educate our soul. So now let's proceed in applying the WICS model. So teaching analytically. So in mathematics, evaluate the validity of solution to a mathematical problem and discuss weaknesses in the solution if there are any. So sa mathematics na siya. And which means that kanang it is to examine the validity of of a solution to a mathematical issue, and if necessary describe any flaws in the solution. So how do we teach analytically? How do you teach analytically? So here, make your students use critical thinking, design tasks and activities that provide opportunity for your learners to, number 1, analyze, number 2, critique, judge, compare and contrast, evaluate, and assess. So, now, teaching creatively. So, discover the fundamental, basical principle that underlies all of the following problems, each of which differs from the others in the surface structure of the problem, but nothing its deep structure. So, it is from kanang basic. So, which means that it is to discover the fundamental physical principle that underlies or underpins all of the following difficulties, and each of which differs from the others in terms of the problem's surface structure, but shares the same deep structure. So, how do you teach creatively? How do we teach creatively? So, it is important for you, it is very important for you to encourage and sustain your students' creative ideas. Remember to be an example to them by taking the risk to share your own creative ideas. Think out of the box. Design tasks and activities that help students to create, invent, discover, imagine if, suppose that, and predict. So, let's proceed. So, teaching practically. Put in, for example, in athletics. So, put into practice what you have learned from teamwork in football to making a classroom team project succeed. So, it is, so, for example, in athletics, no? So, it is applying what you've learned about kanang teamwork in football, and to completing a classroom project as a group. So, how do you teach practically, man? How do we teach practically? So, have in mind real life situations where students can use what they learn to meet their own and also others' practical needs. So, design tasks and activities that allow your students to apply, use, put into practice, implement, employ, and render practical what they know. So, teaching wisdom. So, should parents expect their children to take care of them when they are old? Why? So, ang parents ba is mag-expect ba sila nga ang ilang mga anak is kanang atimanon sila, ikatiguang nila? So, how do we teach wisdom? How do we teach wisdom? So, one of the goals is for the learners to learn to see and understand the point of view of others. It is important for your learners to balance one's own needs with the needs of other people, and also that one of the world of or the environment. It is developing your learners to consistently act based on positive ethical values, which means that one of the objectives is for the students to learn to perceive and appreciate other people's perspectives. So, kanang usa gid sa goal no sa pag-teach og wisdom is kanang dapat kanang makatunan sa student ba nga kabalo sila mo appreciate sa perspective sa ubang tao, perception sa ubang tao. Dili la silang kaugalingon, but kanang kabalo sila mo consider sa uban no sa mga tao nga silang palibot. It is kanang critical for your students to be able to balance their own needs with the needs of others as well as the needs of the world or the environment. It is teaching your students to conduct consistently in accordance with positive ethical values. So, when can we say or what are the signs nga we are teaching kanang wisdom? So, unsa may mga senyales or unsa may mga kanang sa man ta makaingon nga nagtudlo na daay ta og wisdom, nagtudlo tag wisdom. So you teach for wisdom when you are able to move your students for try to wait when you are able to move your students to try to find a common good, see things from others' point of view, balance your own interest with those um, with others and for institutions, look the long term as well as the short term, reflect about how one can base his every decision on positive ethical values, and appreciate that in life what is seen um, what is seen as true and effective may vary over time and place. So the WICS model was successful for teachers and their learners because it celebrates the differences of learners through a supportive learning environment, made students remember, build on strengths of the learners, and strengthen the motivations of the learners. So that's all, um, everyone, and thank you for listening, and um, I hope you found it valuable, and know that I really appreciate you for listening. Again, thank you so much.